A video from the camera mounted on the aft part of the Russian ship, you can see that there are some of the lights and something is really going on with the Russian ship. Why is it Russian? Because you can see the Russian flag. Yes, there are reports that Ukraine hit one more Russian Navy ship, but I'm still looking for the information about the particular type of the ship which was attacked. What we have now are some sort of the satellite images showing the battleship of the Russian army, actually the landing ship of the Russian army. According to unconfirmed information, Ukraine struck the Russian landing ship in the Sea of Azov. According to the publication, the ship was used to transport ammunition and military cargo to occupied Mariupol. This information slipped through the Russian media, but later on was removed. Well guys, it's kind of hard to prove this information because the satellite images are really low quality. If Russia had lost one of their big landing ships, obviously very soon we're gonna have the confirmation about it. Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Alright, according to the latest information, a tow truck with a big barge was attacked by the drone boats. The barge is very big, so analytics judging on the satellite images thought that it is the landing ship. But actually, yeah, it wasn't that fat target, but we understand that Ukraine tries to hit barges which Russia put to protect the Kerch Bridge. My friends, if you want to support the job that I do daily on YouTube, you may join my Patreon page. It is available with my personal link in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your kind support. Russians claim that they started their attack on Sumy region. Today they went to Rizhivka. Rizhivka is located over here. It looks like a single village with a Russian one over here connected with the street. So Russians went inside Rizhivka and definitely we have the proof of it. Russians published this image on their social media saying that it's Rizhivka village library, and indeed it looks like a legit image. But from our soldiers, I understand that Rizhivka is located in so-called gray zone, so Ukrainian armed forces are not located out there. Why? Because they might be under the fire from the Russian side. And I think that Ukraine itself will strike the village with artillery and FPV drones. So for now we are speaking about the small Russian group that went to the village just for photo purposes. It's not yet the massive Russian strike on Sumy region. But it could be the part of the bigger plan, so they might strike to Rizhivka, they might strike to different places, but advance with their main attack towards, for example, Sumy itself or somewhere else. We understand that Russia created a group of their reinforcements right next to Ukrainian border. For the first time, Ukraine started to use the military aviation to hit the Russian targets on the Russian territory with the Western-made missiles or the gliding bombs. We have the joint decision from our allies allowing Ukraine to use, for example, Scalp or Storm Shadow to target the Russian bases. And with that too, the Russian ammunition warehouse was hit today. It is confirmed that that was the Russian ammunition depot because there were lots of the secondary detonations. Disturbing the Russian supplies is crucial for Ukrainian army, so that ammunition will not go to the Russian army which is fighting now in Kharkiv region, for example. Also, some sort of the drone put Ukrainian flag on top of one of the towers in Belgorod Oblast. About the best Russian fighter jet Sukhoi 57 that was targeted probably by the drone, well, we received those kind of the images and they're not legit. They were taken in 2023, showing perfectly airworthy airplanes, so it's not from the case. But the media like Gulag.net shared those footages saying that look at this airplane, it was hit, but where? Unfortunately, those photos were spread by some of the Ukrainian media sources, and now Russia says that, look, the airplane is fine, it wasn't really targeted. Even Ukrainians are sharing the photos of the perfect airplane, but definitely the photos are old, and relative to current information about Sukhoi 57, they have absolutely no relation. Here we have definitely Sukhoi 57 Russian airplane, marks on the apron, so for sure shrapnel went and hit the airplane. I got some indications of what is this, what are those lines around the airplane. Maybe Russia wrote it on the apron, but let me show you what it is. It is this type of the construction with some of the net on the top, which is used to protect the airplane from the drone strikes. However, the drone strikes were very close to the airplane itself, not touching the upper net. And we have the information from the Russian side that definitely Sukhoi 57 was hit. Well, not from the Russian officials, they'll never say about it, but from the Russian military pilots and from their military bloggers too. Moreover, 2 of the airplanes of that type could be targeted. That's what Ukrainian intelligence says. Also, the Russian military bloggers confirmed that the air defense systems of the Russian airfield were targeted as well. They say that Ukraine used some sort of the invisible drones which are impossible to stop. Wow. So clearly the information about this event is correct. We are waiting for the confirmation about the other Russian Sukhoi 57. According to official information, Russia has just 6 of the airplanes of the type actively flying. The rest produced are used for the different test purposes. By the way, this is the satellite image from the same Russian airfield with Sukhoi 57. So this is the real airplane, as you can see, it's over here. And this is the attempt of the Russian painters to draw it just on the apron. You may see and spot the difference. Actually, guys, I am shocked that Russia is unable to build even simple hangars for their very expensive airplanes, multi-purpose Sukhoi 57 jets. The price for the unit fluctuates between $20 and $25 million. But it is also very difficult to produce those airplanes without the Western-made components. About the Ukrainian F-16 program, well, everything is going very slowly. According to the recent information, Ukraine will just obtain around 10 of the airplanes this year, and they will not change a lot on the front lines, unfortunately. Ukraine needs at least 80 of the airplanes to cope with the threat from the Russian aviation. Also, the pilot training is very slow. Ukraine needs at least 2 of the pilots per 1 airplane, and it is minimum. And this year, again, just 20 pilots will be ready. That's why Ukraine is now working with the United States officials to expedite the pilot training or to expand it. Otherwise, Ukraine will obtain all of the promised 80 of the airplanes in 5 years or something like that. So all the situation is not really good. Well, hopefully our allies will find out the solution. Meanwhile, Politica says that for all of the 80 aircraft which are promised for Ukraine, Ukraine is capable to train pilots in 1.5 years, not 5 years, as I say to you. But if allies prepare 20 pilots per year, it means 80 pilots per 4 years, and 2 pilots per aircraft, it's like minimum. So we need 100 pilots at least, and that takes 5 years. With the current pace of the training, so hopefully it will be changed. According to the reports from the Ukrainian command, Ukraine is now running out of the unguided missiles for Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes. Instead, they are now carrying the guided French bombs, which are usually dropped from the altitude, so the attack airplanes are not performing their attack missions without the unguided missiles, which they usually strike towards the enemy tanks, convoys, and so on. Well, hopefully our allies will supply more unguided missiles to Ukraine. Meanwhile, as you can see, Russia continued to use their Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes for the purpose they were built for, because Russia has many more munitions compared to Ukraine. The American Colonel Rosanna Clementa confirmed that Ukraine used the Patriot systems to shut down the Russian AWACS airplanes A-50. 2 of those airplanes were shot down by Ukraine, and Russia claimed that it was the mistake of their air defense, but finally we have the confirmation from the United States command. In the same way, the Russian Sukhoi 27 was shot down over the Azov Sea. Locals report about the drone strikes in Sevastopol, in Kerch, and in many other points. I'm waiting for the clarification of what was hit out there. Russia says that as usual their air defense worked well. Alright, about the situation on the front lines, Ukraine continued to liberate Vovchansk, Kharkiv region previously. Here we see this attack vector by Ukrainian army. Mostly now Ukraine uses drones to get rid of the Russian infantry. Sorry guys, I cannot fully show you this image on this platform. For that, please subscribe for my Telegram. You may find it in the video description just below. What is there? Well, basically the Russian infantry, they took some of the households and now being kicked out by Ukraine. And here's the eastern part of Ukraine, the south of Krasnohorivka. Russia tries to occupy Krasnohorivka, I think already for 2 months, and partially they were successful, but Ukraine uses lots of the FPV drones. And today, while Russia tried to send some of the BMPs and tanks to break through Ukrainian defense, it didn't work. Russian convoys separated on the way. There was even Turtle BMP and the tank with anti-mine plug. And here you see that at first Ukraine started to use artillery, not very precisely at that moment because the convoy was moving quite fast. But later on the FPV drones finished the job. eliminating all of the Russian armored vehicles and tanks. So one more suicide mid-wave attack performed by the Russian army. Right, let's check out the current update. The update was in Umansk village over here, so Russia was successful in taking just the small part of the field. But the bad thing that we see that they've crossed this water obstacle. So potentially they might go to Novosilivka, Persia from two of the directions right now, from Sokol and from Umansk. Also, Russia continued their expansion near Ocheretino, so today they took part of Novoalexandrovka. Let's check out the timeline. Yesterday, today, quite a fast Russian army movement again. Their main goal is to move to this road, which is one of the main ones in all of the Donetsk Oblast. It connects the western part of Ukraine with Pokrovsk and then goes to Konstantinivka and to Bakhmut. So if Russia cuts it from this place, there will be no supplies going through this road to Konstantinivka and nearby settlements. In this case, Ukraine will have to use a secondary road which is not that fast. And the Russian army forces are just 8 kilometers away to reach this very important crossroad. There's just a single village, Vozdvizhenka, on their way to this road. It's very, very concerning. The Russian success in just a single spot may disturb all of the Ukrainian logistics. Well, actually, they may already target this road with their mortars and artillery, already disturbing the supplies for Ukraine. We have the first photos showing Ukrainian ex-prisoners on a training in some sort of the camp. And here we even go with a video of how they study maps and tactics, so for sure they will take part in this war. Again, not every prisoner is hired by Ukrainian army. Those who have hard criminal cases stay in prison. And those who are hired by Ukrainian army are formed to the separate brigades. The Institute for the Study of War says that Ukraine is capable to strike around 16% of the Russian territory with a Western-made weapon, but here we have the green zone, which is okay for Ukraine to strike just right now. Still, Ukraine is out of the permission to use ATACMS missiles on the Russian bases, at least from the open official information coming from the White House. But unofficially, if needed, I think Ukraine might strike those Russian military airfields or the Russian bases. However, yet Ukraine haven't used ATACMS to strike the Russian military airfields in Kursk or Belgorod Oblast. Kind of the interesting voting in the European Parliament. Even though the current leading parties of the European Union took majority, but the trend is leaning to the far right. Like for example, Macron's party lost to Marine Le Pen's far right. Some say that Marine Le Pen party is connected to Russia. Well, we don't have the direct evidence of that, but the rhetorics of Marine Le Pen sometimes, yes, it is clearly pro-Russian. Not as Orban's rhetorics, but very close to it. By the way, Orban took majority in Hungary as usual. In Austria, also far right are the winners, but in general, as I said to you, current parties like EPP is keeping the majority or the lead in the European Parliament elections. In Germany, conservatives win, so probably Chancellor Scholz will resign soon. And President Macron takes kind of the interesting step. He calls for the snap parliamentary elections later this month and also the next month. There will be 2 stages of the elections in France. He announced it because he basically lost the elections in the European Union. I wonder if Macron's party wins the next parliamentary elections. Le Pen has all of the chances to take majority. In its turn, it may influence the attitude for Ukrainian topic, because we know that President Macron calls for the coalition to establish instructors, NATO instructors in Ukraine. He sent the official letters to 11 of the countries calling their forces to participate. Well, in this context, the instructors might mean not the instructors themselves, but maybe the actual fighting units, as it was done, for example, by Americans in Korean War, or then they supported Afghanistan with its fight against the Soviet Union, because there were some of the American instructors as well fighting directly against Soviets. Also, France is working with American leadership to withdraw the Russian assets from the European and American banks and to spend those funds for Ukrainian military. So in general, I personally like the trend of Macron, of what he's doing now for supporting Ukraine. Clearly, it's not the PR or something. He tries to make those steps, and I think that Le Pen will not do the same job. Kind of the interesting stuff from the Russian propaganda TV, they were saying about their allies, probably in Caribbean, in North America, in Europe, so the countries where they potentially may deploy their nukes. They were speaking about Serbia, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Mexico. Jake Bro, thanks for sharing this information. I didn't know that Mexico is the ally of Russia either. Well, maybe in their dreams. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.